Hello everyone. I first wanted to talk about my restock, I guess. So I just got some new Lagoon cork in. That is this dark teal color. And then I also have a restock of the 2 different stickers that I have. I wonder if I can grab those. Well, I found one, so there's one. So I have gotten these in. If you are one of those people that have been asking me about this, yeah, it is and will be available. I just wanted to update you on that because I know there's been a lot of people asking me about it, and I just haven't had time to, I guess, share. So, but the real reason we're here is because of this guy. This is a pocket palette by Art Toolkit. It is probably my favorite thing in the world. Not really, but I love the Art Toolkit little pocket palettes. This is the Demi, and then I have the regular one. It is right here. Let's see if I can get it open. Right here. So it is literally, the Demi is half the size of the regular. Now the regular is not very big either, but this is the new palette that I am collaborating with Letter Sparrow. She collaborates with Art Toolkit, so it's kind of like, I don't know, it's perfect if you really want my honest opinion. I love these 2 companies, so I am always excited to be able to share with you these new paints. Now these are handmade watercolors. They are amazing. I have tried many different watercolors, and by far Letter Sparrow is my favorite. And I can kind of go over why, and I can walk you through some little tips and tricks that you can test when you do get handmade watercolors. Now I can't obviously help you with purchasing when you're just looking online, but when you do get them, I can kind of give you a little, I don't know, just something you could do to test them. Now, I do recommend when you are buying handmade watercolors that you don't buy a bunch of them. Just buy 1, maybe 2. I know that it would save on shipping if you bought a bunch, but you really want to test them out. And on top of that, I will say that handmade watercolors, even if they're made by the same company, they're not all made the same. Some pigments are more pigmented than others. So just be aware of that when you're actually purchasing watercolors. I always look for really high pigmented watercolors. So my palette, this palette is called New Growth. Excited, it's going to be available not with me, but with Letter Sparrow. So you'd have to go to her website. It's just lettersparrow.com. It's super easy. She also has a newsletter that you can subscribe to, and it'll have a link for you to click when it is available. So if this is something that you're interested in, I recommend you doing that. And yeah, so let's get started. This is, like I said, the palette that I chose is called New Growth, and I have 6 colors here, and I wanted to swatch them for you just so you could see how pigmented they are, because these swatches look amazing, and I'm gonna tell you right now that when I swatch it, they're gonna look the same because they're awesome paints. So the very first color that I chose was Scarlet. And you don't need a lot to wet these. These particular ones, like I said, are very pigmented. And I like pigmented paints because the more pigmented they are, the more range of value you have. So the next one that I'm swatching is called Italian Orange. And these are being done on 68 GSM Tomoe River paper. This one is called Gamboge. And did you see, like, I'm not really applying a lot of water to these paints. I didn't spray them ahead of time, nothing. This is called Violet Earth. And then the last one I'm going to use today is called Emerald, but I do want to swatch the blue teal color, which is Paris. So those are the colors, and then the blue Paris one is really pretty too. I was just gonna do it in the background, so what I'll do is I like to use the other. I'm gonna just pick up a little bit of this Paris color and I'm gonna throw it in the background. I chose these colors because I thought that my last palette, which was called Your Path, was more on the, for a lack of better term, dingy side. And I wanted this to be more spring-like and more, I don't know, obviously it's spring and I wanted it to be more bright, so that is why I chose these colors. That is the palette that I've come up with, and I just feel like it is really good for florals, for springtime and summertime, so I wanted to sketch this with you. And if you had any questions, I meant paint. If you have any questions, you can pop them in the comment section. Once these dry, I'm gonna show you a technique that I do to test how good a watercolor, a handmade watercolor, or a regular watercolor is, because I feel like it's very important. And you can do this with any watercolor, even like your Daniel Smiths if you wanted to. So this right here is actually a marigold. I just like dandelions, if you know me. I love dandelions, and I have found a new love for marigolds as well. So that is what this is, and that is just what I'm going to be painting. And how I like to paint is I like to do washes of things first. So you saw me do the background with a wash of water. This one I'm just going to do a wash of color, and then I will go back in and deepen up some of the areas. Mainly I use, and someone came up with this, not me, mainly I use my sketch as my map. So I just add in the dark areas to the sketchy lines. Is the turquoise to the left from the set? Yes, that is the Paris color. So I forgot to make another box, but that is Paris on here. It's the last color. I won't be using it in the flower, so my bad. So I just used Gamboge, that's all. I added a little bit of water, and now I'm gonna pull in some emerald. I'm gonna mix emerald and Gamboge together to make like a limey green. And then again, just painting a relatively light layer on my image. I feel like watercolor is all about layers, so I think that's the beauty of watercolor. You can really layer it, and then it gives a lot of dimension and depth. So I like to at least have 3 layers in my sketch or painting. And of course, like I said, I start really light because I would like to build on top of them. Okay, so these are dry, so let's talk a little bit about this. This violet earth is not completely dry, but what you want to do is you want to kind of run your fingers over it. And a lot of handmade watercolors will have a grit to them, almost like sand on the paper. Sometimes that happens with these if you have like a super heavy swatch, but none of these at the moment. If they do have that grit, you can just kind of shove it off, and it shouldn't be a problem. The problem lies when you rub your hand on the watercolor, and you can either see it smudging on the page or it comes off on your finger. But none of these come off on your finger. None of these feel like they are gritty on the paper. It has a little bit to do with the fact that I'm using Tomo River paper. Tomo River paper is very smooth. It is not watercolor paper. There is no tooth to the paper. So that has something to do with it. But it also has something to do with the fact that these are just really nice paints. If you put Daniel Smith on this paper, or if you put Schminke on this paper, you're going to get the same feel. So good job, Kelly from Letter Sparrow. Okay, so I'm gonna do this second layer, and I'm gonna take New Gamboge and I'm just gonna pop it over here. And this is going to be my, like I said, second layer. So I'm just following my map and scrubbing in some dark areas here. Eventually I'm going to add orange as my darkest tone, so it'll get some real good depth going on there. So like I said, I use my pen marks as my map. I am popping in some violet earth to this to make it a deeper green. And then I am going and just tapping, because these are little bitty spots, I'm tapping in this color. Now what I'm going to do is I kind of like dry off my brush, and I'm just going to kind of scrub at the color a little bit. The yellow has dried significantly since I put it on, but that's okay. Tomo River paper is pretty amazing where I can go back in and really scrub at it and get it to blend. And then I rinse my brush because I don't want yellow in my green, and I'm going to scrub out these as well. You can leave these, it's just my style to make it a little bit more subtle, I guess. How many grams is the paper you are using on your sketchbook? I see it's not wrinkling with watercolor. So this is 68 GSM Tomo River paper. It is wrinkling. Excuse me. It is wrinkling. It's just not very noticeable on camera, but it is kind of wrinkling, and you can tell when it wrinkles with how the water pools. But Tomo River paper is cool because you can like smush it or close your book, and it just kind of like flattens the page out again. So. Okay, so I blended that out. Now I wanted to talk, since these are pretty much, this one's still not completely dry, but we'll kind of skip over it. The next thing that you can do when you're testing your watercolors is you can take an eraser to them. Now, with this, remember that on this type of paper, because it is Tomo River paper, it has a film on it, so it's not absorbing into the page. So I will have more of a lift than I would on regular watercolor paper, because watercolor paper is going to absorb the paint. Also, depending on what kinds of pigments she's used, some of them are going to stay on the page more because they are dye-based. So keep that in mind. But an eraser test is always really good, that you can just kind of take your eraser to it and scrub at it and see if it pulls up pigment. I'm seeing that it hasn't pulled up any pigment so far on any of these. So for me, this is a really good way to test to see how the watercolors sit on the page and what kind of paper your watercolor likes. For instance, I will show you this. I use a practice sketchbook. I call it my practice sketchbook. It's like a Global Arts watercolor paper book, okay? And I have been sketching some of these flowers that you'll see later on. But to practice with the paints, I kind of swatched them out here just to play with them. And I wanted to see how they blend together. But then I actually did this. And with this, I noticed that if I get real heavy with my paint, then I have it sinking into the paper in a weird way. I don't know if it's picking that up as well on camera as it is in real life. But it does sink into the paper. My favorite paper to watercolor, even with Daniel Smith, is 68 GSM Tomo River paper. It's my favorite. It's what I do most of my illustrations on. I do like watercolor paper, but I feel like I get better results and I have more fun with the illustration if I do it on Tomo River paper, because I really like these effects that it gives, and I don't get that as much on regular watercolor paper. will those be stickers, the flowers? I don't know. I do a lot of sketching. Some things come to stickers and some things don't. But if you are interested, I'm gonna have videos on me painting these coming up on YouTube. And so if you are interested in stickers for these, I'm getting to them. If you are interested in stickers for these, then just let me know. And I'll probably ask about it in my my video as well. I have this page too, little sneak peek. And then I have yet to sketch or to paint this. I'm nervous, but it'll come. It will come. So, begging. Don't beg, just ask. They could be. I don't know yet. I tend to I don't know, I tend to sit on things a little bit before I make them into stickers. So I'm on my second layer and everything's dry. So now I'm going to do my third layer. And with my third layer, like I said, I want to add in some orange to this marigold. So I'm gonna take that Italian orange, and it's pigmented, so I don't have to scrub at it too much, but I do want a bigger amount. So, all right, so it becomes like a goldy color. I don't want too much water. Okay, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hit my darkest spots. I don't want it to be completely orange. I just want the hint of the orange in there. And I want it mainly to be like, you know, like I said, the darkest areas. Sometimes with Tomo River paper, it sits in places, so you can like pull it back to, pull all the pigment back to a section that you want it in. I like doing that. So if I like want all the color to be there, or if I pull both sides so that way it doesn't pool in the middle. I feel like once you really understand watercolor, it's fun to mess with, even just the pools of water. So go back in here. This that I'm working in is a field notes or pocket size sketchbook. So all my illustrations are rather small. I haven't worked in this in a very long time, but I like this size for Instagram Lives, because then I don't have to do a whole illustration and feel like I need to be on here for a very long time. So, because I don't have that much to say. All right, so there is the top of the marigold, and then if I start at the leaves and the bottom, I'm adding just a little bit more of that violet earth. I feel like that violet earth is so, I don't know how to explain it. It is so versatile. There, that's the word. It can go with the red just fine. It has a purpley hue to it, so it can go with the red just fine. It can actually pull off and be a brown, or it can go with the greens, and I don't know. I just really, when I saw that and I saw that she had that color, I was like, yes, it's the perfect brown. Not too brown, you know what I mean? Plus, you can mix all your colors to make brown, so you don't 100% need a brown. All right, so I got that, and then we'll just pop in some darks here. But yeah, this palette I feel like is really versatile because you can do a lot of mixing with it. I feel like you can, I know a lot of people in the journaling community aren't huge on mixing colors, but I feel like this is the type of palette that even if you don't really understand color theory and you're not a mixer, you just don't like to mix, this palette is small enough, and the color range is I feel like it hits every point on the color wheel that you can make some really nice colors. Now obviously the one color that it's missing is a purple, but I mean, you had to miss out on one of them. So But yeah, I think I'm going to pack a little bit more punch in this blue in the background. I get a lot of questions on if I'm going to get on more and do lives. It's just really hard at the moment with having everyone home, but I do want to. I want to keep that little fun thing, but I want to darken this up. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a wet brush and just kind of like scrubbing at it to blend it out. So yeah, this is the new palette. I'm really excited about it. It is again called New Growth, and it will be available on Letter Sparrow's website, not mine, Letter Sparrow's website. I recommend signing up for her newsletter, because in her newsletter she kind of walks you through what's going on, and she gives you links to easily like click and buy. So I would definitely sign up for that. I love her watercolors, and if you are at all like vegan or into like cruelty-free products, this is right up your alley. She all her paints are vegan, and I don't know, she is such a sweet lady, and I love supporting her business, and I love the fact that she is willing to do collaborations with me. So just little old me over here. So I'm really thankful for that as well. With this palette, it's tiny, right? I do clean off my palette more frequently. So keep that in mind when you are purchasing these mini palettes. I kind of want to go over that with maybe yellow. So I'm not going to paint the middle section. Keep in mind when you're purchasing the mini palettes, I understand that the like super tiny ones are not for everyone. I get that. I just can't get enough of them. They fit so nicely in my travel case that I can't stop. I can't stop. When it's working, don't stop. Just keep doing it because it works for you. Get that little side there. All right, so just a light wash of color. I think I'm gonna add some Gamboge to the green here. I got some eraser bit in my paint. More of the emerald. So I'm curious, who watercolors, who loves watercolor? Do you like to just plop it on your page, or do you like to sketch like me? Are you learning? Are you practicing? Are you a newbie? Are you someone that like does large canvases? I'm just curious who's watching. I'm just making up some more of that green so that way I can do the stem. And while I do this, I'm obviously waiting for this to dry. I am going to do the middle section and just gonna put some Gamboge on that. I just started painting with watercolor. There we go. You do both, cool. I'm a newbie, but I really enjoy the layering sort of depth watercolor creates. Me too, that is my favorite. I recently just purchased some gouache, and I admire those that can paint with flat color, but I'm just not one of them, I don't think. I could do a background, but not a whole thing. I absolutely love to watercolor on some Tomoe River paper and journal overlap with a great dark black pen. Yes, me too. I'm a newbie, always practice. I do sketches and plop and freehand watercolors, lots of things. It's fun, isn't it? Okay, so I'm gonna use my map and just add some darker values to the flower. So more Scarlet and some water for the color. And then I'm just going to plop it in. it is relaxing. I sometimes like forget. I don't forget, but there are times where I know I should be like watercoloring for just my state of mind, and it's the whole idea for me of like a pretty picture, and that's what made me create my my practice book, because I just, in here, I felt like everything had to be so pretty, and I don't know, I just didn't want that pressure, and so that's why I don't know, that's why I sketch in that other one. The other one's fine too. Like the funny thing is when I actually sketch in it, I'm like, oh, see, that could have gone in this one. It's fine. Do you use photo reference for your line drawings? Yeah, for sometimes, like it's either photo reference or it's like I actually just have marigolds. We got some when I went to the grocery store recently, and so I drew them from life this time. So this got a little heavy, but that's okay. Did you see how I can pretty much manipulate the watercolor and move it wherever I want? I'm pushing into the watercolor, so that way it's not pulling out too much. And then I'm wiping off my brush because I don't want to pull away all the light areas of my flower. When you're a beginner, the thing that you do the most is you create like one flat color instead of keeping some white space and creating that depth. So when I'm doing this, I not only want to have those areas of light and white areas, but I also want to have areas of really intense depth. Very fun. I have been loving the two-tone watercolors, glittery watercolors lately. I cannot get into glitter, like at all, in any aspect of my life. My daughter, poor my daughter, because she likes things to be like that, and I don't even want it in my house. It does not go away. Glitter doesn't go away. So I hate glitter. Your flowers are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I do love your urban sketch too, though. I haven't done urban sketching in a long time. I've been in like, I don't want to say a funk, but you know, when you get into a comfort zone, it's hard to get out of. That's kind of what I'm into right now. All right, so I gotta smudge these out a little. I'm gonna move on to the leaf. The leaf has no shading. I didn't even do that with the pen, but that's okay. We're just gonna go in with some emerald green. I think what I'm gonna do with this is I am just going to paint one side light green and the other side dark green. And that's gonna be how I shade the leaves. Should I stick it all on the same side? No. Changing it up. Yeah, I kind of like that. All right. Kind of just brings it back to the flower. And we'll go back to the flower. It's not completely dry yet, but that's okay. It's not gonna be too bad. And I'm gonna add the violet earth to this scarlet color. All right, and then punch it into these really dark areas. And if it's not dry all the way, it's gonna bleed a little bit, but that's okay. We can figure it out later. Maybe I should have music on in the background. I'm not like a naturally chatty person. I don't know how to explain that. I can easily hold a conversation, but not with myself. It's so difficult. So I never know what to say. Now just kind of, I end up talking about what I'm doing instead. I am pulling the color out and blending it out more. I have a towel over here that I'm wiping my brush on. I could probably put it right here so you guys can see it. It's pretty wet, but that's okay. And I'm putting my arm in it, which is kind of gross. This one is like super vibrant. It has lots of depth, which is really fun, unlike the yellow one. It's just the image that's different. Ooh, I do have a fun thing to share. I have invested in getting a different type of sticker in my shop. They are washi stickers. I love washi stickers. I feel like washi stickers are where it's at because I don't like to bulk up my journal, and I feel like washi stickers won't do that. I know they won't do that actually, and I'm really excited to get them. I should be getting them soon, and I was kind of waiting on them to do the release for the second round of the Lagoon color and the stickers, but we'll see. They're coming from far, far, far away, so I don't know if I can wait that long. I don't know if some of you can wait that long. All right, I think I'm done messing. So there's that. And then to kind of tie it all together, let's throw the Paris color back into the background. So I'm just gonna take it and put it here and get lots of water. And let's see. I don't want to do it. That'd be heavy down there. I'm trying to figure out where I want to put it. I think I am just gonna kind of lay in color all through here. Now this is super light, very, very light, and it's a heavy wash of water because remember, I'm gonna put like pigment into it and just watch watercolor do its thing in the background. So the paper does wrinkle at this point, but it'll be okay. So now I'm gonna take my heaviness of the swatch and place it. Add some more water. Toner paper is a pretty amazing little thin sheet of paper if it's taking all this. Let me tell you, that's a lot of water. All right, now let's do it again. It's gonna have some up top. All right, fun. I love doing this. It's so fun to watch what watercolor does. Just all the different things it can do by itself. So it's pooling in areas that it is wrinkling. The paper is wrinkling. Like this is a really high point on the page. So I just kind of press it down with water, and it'll eventually kind of I don't know, span itself out. I'm gonna take this clip off if I can. Yeah. And add some water over here and just pull it that way. And I want to get darker because I want it to kind of balance out on the page, meaning like the left and right side to be a little balanced, more balanced. Fun. just help it along with some water. I think that's good. Yeah, so this is the new palette that she is coming out with. It is, again, by Letter Sparrow. Her name is Kelly. She is fantastic. The colors that I've chosen for the palette are Scarlet, Italian Orange, Gamboge, Violet Earth, Emerald, and Paris. I feel like it's a really good combination. All these colors mix well together. Cool mixes well together. The warm mixes well together. And they also mix well together when you're adding your shadows and stuff. It does come in the Demi palette, and the pans that she has them in are these, which are standard size pans. You can easily pop these in to your regular pocket palette if you do have it. Yeah, I feel like it is perfect for nature stuff as well. This is the regular size pocket palette. They're the same size pan, so I can just scoot that in and it fits in nicely. So if you like the larger pan better, or the larger palette better, I understand. But this is the palette that I came up with. Again, it's called New Growth, and I feel like it's very fitting for summer. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little kind of demo tutorial situation. I hope you got some tips on what to look for when you do buy handmade watercolors, and what little tricks you can do to test them. So yeah. All right, I'll see ya.